kecil bermakna. Tiada pesanan yang terlalu kecil. Dan mereka tahu saya sukakan teh tarik ekstra kau.
Dan sebagai pemilik perniagaan kecil, komuniti adalah segalanya. Kami ingin menjadi sebahagian daripada hidup anda dan terus berkhidmat dengan sebaik mungkin untuk membantu anda membina memori indah bersama yang tersayang. Bukan mudah untuk memulakan e-pot semasa pandemik, tetapi kegembiraan yang dirasai oleh komuniti semasa menikmati steamboat enak di rumah sendiri bersama yang tersayang menjadi pembakar semangat kami.
Saya memberi sokongan terhadap SME dengan memberikan ulasan yang berguna.
Kami tidak dapat melakukannya tanpa sokongan anda. Bantulah kami untuk bangun semula supaya kami dapat terus menawarkan yang terbaik untuk anda. Kerana yang kecil itulah yang menjadikan Malaysia kuat.
Marilah kita cari,
Ulas,
kongsi,
Beli dan sokong SME untuk kita mantap bersama.
The most human trait is to want to know why. And in a year that tested everyone around the world, why was searched more than ever.
The spread of the coronavirus has passed a significant milestone.
And while we didn't find all the answers, we kept asking. Some questions inspired joy. Others, excitement.
Life in the bubble.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I don't know what an improper fraction is.
Keep all of those distractions out of the way.
We found toilet tissue, y'all.
Oh my God.
Put it on there and start it up for me.
What are y'all doing? It's still March. How many days in March?
Some questions made us cry.
You know, we've been through our ups and been through our downs. I think the most important part is that we all stayed together throughout. I love you guys.
Some made us worry about this spinning rock we call home. Why were so many lives lost?
Almost 1.5 million people have now died of COVID-19 worldwide.
Why are we still asking the same questions?
George Floyd repeatedly told the officers that he could not breathe.
So why do we still have strength to continue?
I believe in your power. I believe in our power.
Chants of Black Lives Matter echoed from thousands of protesters in cities around the world.
Why are we not defeated?
We have made too much progress, and we are not going back. We are going forward.
Planes are starting to arrive in Beirut, full of international aid.
Firefighters from around the world arriving in California. There are over 100 coronavirus vaccines in development worldwide.
This is one of those times when people look out for one another and have each other's backs.
We kept going for those who showed us the way.
Think about how you would like the world to be for your daughters and granddaughters.
We also march to show men physically that we are here and we are going to be counted.
Remember, the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. Press on with pride and press on with purpose.
Why is it that this year showed us its worst and we still found ways to triumph?
Osaka U.S. Open Championship. Can't let Corona stop you. Can't let quarantine stop you.
So until we get to every answer,
we're gonna get it together somehow.
We're still searching.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Talk with the Industry series brought to you by Segi University and Colleges. My name is CY, and I'm your host this evening. Now, before we move on, I just want to do a very, very quick shout out to all of you who are watching right now. I see even right before our live feed started, we have a lot of comments coming in already. So a quick shout out to NG, Francis, Scarlett, SR Prince, Priscilla, Deva, Ideal, Nicole, Fahim, Ang Wei Jin, and a lot of others. Thank you, and thanks for tuning in early, and welcome once again to another episode of A Talk with the Industry series. Now, tonight we have a very, very exciting. Tonight is a very exciting event because we have somebody from Google Malaysia, Miss Fardina, who is going to share with us about the future of marketing, and she's also going to share with us a little bit about COVID-19 recovery plans and things like that. Now, before we get into that, a very, very quick tech check. Can everybody see and hear me clearly? If you can see me clearly, if you can hear me clearly, can you type in the comment section, say yes, so I know that our audio and visual are fine. Yeah. If you can hear me, if you can see me, please type yes. Okay, I see Rong Kwan, Phoebe, Francis, Ang Hong, Chris. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. At this point, I would also like to acknowledge a lot of our industry partners of Segi who are watching live with us tonight. Right now, we actually have our partners from Iligia, Hotai, TT Racing, You Good, OU Fishkin, and Real Me, colleagues and partners from other institutions who are watching with us right now. So thank you for tuning in. It is indeed a very exciting night for all of us. And this webinar is also powered by Shure as well as Iligia. Now, a quick flow of what we're going to do this evening is we are going to break our webinar this evening into two sections. Section one, we're going to talk about the future of marketing, and then from there we are going to go for a very, very quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about COVID-19 recovery plans, and immediately followed would be a Q&A session as well as lucky draw. Tonight we are giving out merchandises from Google, sponsored by Google as well. So if you're interested in asking Fardina from Google some questions, be sure to stay until the end of this webinar. And of course, if you want to walk away with some Google merchandises tonight, you also need to stay. Yeah. So that is that. Now, let me introduce to you our speaker tonight, Miss Fardina, the product marketing manager from Google Malaysia. Hello, Fardina. Good evening.
Hi CY, hi everyone. Hi Segi.
Hello.
Super excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Fardina. Now, before we begin, could you very briefly introduce yourself to our audience?
Of course. Hi everyone, my name is Fardina. I'm the product marketing manager at Google Malaysia. So my job is to help the biggest brands and advertisers in the country make the most out of Google advertising products. Looking forward to sharing in a bit.
Fantastic. And from here, we're going to jump into the first section of our conversation tonight that revolves around the future of marketing. Now, for those of you who are watching out there, I understand that tonight we have a lot of our marketing students tuning in, as well as a lot of marketing executives and managers from our partner institutions who are also watching tonight as well. So it's quite a diverse audience. When we talk about the future of marketing, there's just so much to the future of marketing, and of course, people nowadays, right? They are beginning to realize that doing advertisements is not just about coming out with, creatives and then select a target audience and then just put your message out there. It's much more than that, yeah. And with the advancement of technology, things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, and stuff like that, which I'm very sure Fardina is going to share with us later. Things have changed. Yeah, things has gone a lot more comprehensive and a lot more advanced as compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when digital marketing just started, right? And with COVID-19, since the beginning of 2020, since the end of 2019, and then we see in 2020 as well, especially in Malaysia, you really see that digital acceleration, over the last year and a half. And of course, if you look into the Google year in search report, see, Fardina, I've been doing my homework also. So if you download so if you download the Google year in search report that just came out for 2020, right? You see four major industry that has been, very aggressive and has a lot of activity, and that is the beauty, health, and personal care industry. Yeah, you also have a lot of activities in the food and beverage industry, finance as well, especially in the area of personal finance, and also the tech and communication industry. So while all of these are very, very positive news, Malaysians are getting online and stuff like that, but it also means that it's getting tougher and tougher for digital marketers like myself and a lot of you who are watching out there to push your message out, right? Because competition is so tough nowadays. And, if you look at what has happened last year as well, you will realize that the trend now is that a lot of people, right, they're just not only looking for advertisements anymore. It's so much more than that. We're talking about things like how can a brand have some element of community building, right? We are also talking about personalization of marketing. And you also see, especially with COVID and things like that, right? The shoppers nowadays, I mean, online audiences nowadays, they are generally more conscious about marketing messages, about brands and things like that. So, Fardina, would you be able to share with us from Google's perspective and from your experience, right? What is the future of marketing? I mean, it's a big topic that covers a lot of different aspects, right?
Oh, absolutely, which I will be going into in a bit. But thank you so much, CY, for setting such a great context for marketing right now. And I'm so impressed by the marketing team at Segi. I can only imagine the marketing students as well. I'm pretty sure you all are very, very proficient and will soon be amazing digital marketers and hopefully working with Google or for Google. So I'm really excited.
Thank you. So over to you, Fardina.
Awesome.
Okay, we got to bring up your slides, right?
Yes.
Okay, admin, if you could do that. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you so much, CY. But before I begin, I just want to say, I hope everyone is keeping safe at home and hanging in there. I know it's a really tough time. I hope I'll be able to share a thing or two that may inspire you to want to work in digital marketing or in technology so that you can be excited for your future because your futures are bright. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, no matter how challenging things are right now with the pandemic, but I'm certain that you guys will do great things. Speaking about the future, I will be speaking today on how Google is viewing the future of marketing and how that has helped evolve our ads products and will continue to evolve in the future as well. So let me dive right into it. So I know today sitting at home, staring at the screen, you're probably looking at your phone, you're hopefully on YouTube and not on Facebook. I see many of you on Facebook, switch to YouTube right now. Watching, like reading, watching entertainment, searching for information all online. You probably just ordered your food from Grab. I sure had. It's so obvious that technology has become so integrated into all aspects of our life. And this is even more apparent and accelerated in light of COVID and the pandemic. As you know, Malaysian consumers demand having instant access to information. They demand online experiences to become more personalized and more tailored to their needs. Therefore, expectations are rising just faster and faster, and businesses really, really need to keep up. So when COVID hit, Malaysians were pushed to go online. As you can see right here, 1 in 3 Malaysians turned to digital services for the very first time. So I'm sure all of you are like super proficient, like you guys are like Gen Z and are digital natives. But this stat is maybe, representing our uncles and aunties, our grandparents, our parents who had probably never used search to research, has never used Shopee to purchase stuff online, or has never ordered food from Food Panda. Can you imagine? Because of COVID, 1 in 3 did this for the very first time. We even saw like a huge growth, a year-on-year growth for e-commerce, meaning you're purchasing or transacting a product online, a product or a service online. And Malaysia is one of the highest growing e-commerce markets in all of Southeast Asia, which goes to show that Malaysians are buying a lot of things online. This also proves that Malaysians rely deeply on digital, and they will continue to do that, and that expectations for businesses and brands to react and adapt is also very high. So here at Google, we continuously invest in understanding this changing consumer behavior and its impact on businesses. So today I'll be sharing with you some of our latest insights and how you, as soon-to-be marketers and business owners, can act on this. So as you know, hopefully, you've been using our products, that Google has over 9 properties and counting, with over 1 billion users each. So I believe that, as a company, we are well positioned to really understand consumers. We're at the heart of, what people do in their daily lives, right? Whether they are choosing what to do for the day, what to watch, where to go, or even what to buy. And by being an integral part of people's daily lives, we also become part of all the big and small moments across the world. So the revolutions, the celebrations, the defining moments, also known as the pandemic, Google has, the privilege of being part of it all. And as a tech company, technology is really at the core of everything that we do. But now we are leading the way to really like a new paradigm. So we are transforming computing at its very core by leading advancements in machine learning. So you're probably asking, Fardina, what the heck is this picture? Has anyone heard of the game Go? Maybe like ping in the comments if you heard of the name of the game Go. So for those of you who don't know what Go is a complex board game that requires intuition, creativity, and also strategic thinking. It has been long considered as a really difficult challenge in the field of artificial intelligence, because Go is said to require more elements that mimic human thought and human thinking, right? Than let's say, I would say, chess. So, but in 2016, a computer program developed by Google to play the board game Go competed with one of the world human champions in Go, Lee Sedol, which is a Korean man. And it won against a human for a very first time. This is significant in the world of AI, artificial intelligence, because it's the first time an artificial intelligence program has beat a top-ranked Go human professional. And then when May 2017 hit, the same thing happened. AlphaGo continue to beat humans. So, I mean, these are all very cool, but what is this machine learning and what does it have to do with marketing, right? So machine learning is actually a subset of artificial intelligence, right? It underpins basically everything, all of Google's product technologies. So machine learning is the science of getting computers to act without being explicitly programmed. It's about feeding the computers a lot of data and training them to really understand and learn. So again, here's Sundar Pichai, our CEO of Google, which a lot of you may know. Here's him saying and validating that machine learning is really the core transformative way by which we're rethinking everything we're doing here at Google. We're putting machine learning really at the heart of all our products. Think Google Translate, think Google Photos, Google Assistant, but also things like Smart Compose. I'm sure you guys have been using Gmail, where it will complete your responses based on the understanding and the context of your email. Even when you watch YouTube, the video recommended by you, and also the ads being served for you on our digital advertising products are all now powered by machine learning. So what does this mean for marketers to be such as yourself, right? We at Google tell brands every day that it's really simple. There's just 4 simple steps, right? First, you need to be seen, right? Second, you need to be smart. Third, you need to be fast. And fourth, you need to be accountable. So adopting these 4 mindsets will really propel you towards meaningfully reaching and engaging your customers online. So I will elaborate on why and how as we go along this session. Okay, so let's look at stats. I think you guys are all students. You guys love looking at numbers, I hope. So these are APAC stats, so they're not Malaysia specific, and it shows the purchase behavior for a typical routine category set, like say baby care, right? So diaper, baby wipes, lotions. I know you're probably saying, Fardina, why you use this example? None of us are parents yet, because you guys are still studying and focusing on your studies, I hope. But yeah, so this research shows, right, that for this category in APAC, 94% of consumers have several brands in mind when they first start thinking about buying a product. So on average, consumers have about 2.8 brands in their initial consideration set, which means like, when they first are considering to buy a product, right? And when they even have a preferred brand in mind, so for example, you have a favorite brand, but nearly 1/3 are still open or receptive to new brands. So we see that today's consumers' mind is actually a very competitive space. We're actually far more indecisive than we think we are, right? And this is only really just the starting point. Okay, let's continue talking about this baby care example, right? So we found that 69% of the consumers conduct some form of pre-purchase research, right? Which means that you research before you buy something, even if something like a routine purchase, like baby care or even shampoo. And we found that 84% of them use online channels, and 58% of those who research online use online search, which makes it the number 1 online information source. And needless to say that, all of this happens on your smartphone. But later I will talk about how also online video is really starting to play a more important role in the path to purchase, with about 1/3 of consumers using online video while conducting pre-purchase research, right? So I'm also assuming that a lot of you are like, for me, I love watching tech review videos. I just bought a cleaning robot. So I watched a ton of those robot vacuum reviews on YouTube, made by local Malaysian creators, which was so informative, that really informed my decision in purchasing a Xiaomi robot, if you all are interested to know. So enough about that. So back to online video, right? So online video is really, not only used in the context of buying products, right? Like I said, people turn to online video to be inspired, to be entertained, to even learn something. I'm sure during the pandemic, you guys have learned something on YouTube, I hope. And it's as you see here, it's resulting in such tremendous growth rates, right? So in Malaysia, YouTube watch time has increased 30% compared to last year. So it's 2021 versus 2020, right? And this is, of course, contributed by people staying at home and turning to YouTube more. And in 2019, we found that 90% of internet users in Malaysia watched YouTube as well, right? So I can only imagine these numbers, a lot higher during, the pandemic time right now. So, okay, so what does this all mean for marketers, right? So for a brand, right, you have to make sure that you are being seen. This means right from the start of the consumer journey, in all those moments that are shaping your consumer's decision, whether they are conducting a search or watching online video, you have to be there. You have to be there from the very first moment the consumers turn to their smartphone. If you're not, you've already lost half the battle, right? And also being there, right? Being visible is not enough. As CY rightfully mentioned just now, you need to also stand out. And how do you stand out is really being helpful to capture attention, right? You need to influence, engage, and provide answers to your consumers' questions, right? So let's see how this works for search in particular. We all know that consumers today want faster and more relevant answers at any time, just like you and me, right? We're very impatient. We're like, okay, we're gonna search for something on search. We have just seen how people are searching for information right from the moment, right, they are thinking about buying a product. So at Google, we really dive into this moment and spend a lot of time thinking about this. How can we give people even better answers based on the information they've chosen to share with us, right? So think about the semantic challenges in search, right? So users might type the word clean in various contexts, right? As you can see here, clean my room, clean baby clothes, clean my phone, clean water. It's very easy for a person to understand the context without really thinking much about it. But when you're talking to computers, when you talk about rooms versus laundry versus phones versus water, it actually means like very, very different things, right? So we need to solve for every language and every context that a mobile user could find themselves in. So thanks to machine learning, right, machine learning technology, we are able to solve for this and provide the most relevant and useful results for each search query. So while we at Google invest in making search more intuitive, marketers need to think about how you can be part of these critical moments when consumers are actively seeking information and forming opinions online, right? So I'm going to throw you guys an actual example. And this is about a travel company because, since we can't travel, this will be our little escape. So this is about a Japanese online brand called HIS. It's a travel website. So their challenge was, they realized that consideration begins from the moment that that travel inspiration is it hits the consumer's mind. So getting on customers' radar early increases the chance that a consumer will bring you along with them while they research and plan for their trip, right? So therefore, HIS here wanted to influence customers from the very first moment that they start thinking about taking a holiday. Just not even plan yet. It's just thinking about holiday, right? And this is where at search we call broad generic searches become important. So to be present and helpful during consumers broad generic searches, like for example where to go in Japan, HIS made use of a search format that's called dynamic search ads. So what it does is Google's organic web crawling technology basically determines which search queries to show ads for. So if a search is relevant to the content on your website, Google will automatically create an ad to show based on the product and services you offer as a brand and what people are searching for. So now you can let Google figure out the relevant search queries and save time that would have been spent on, mapping individual keywords, manually placing bids, and creating, ad text manually. So these are all powered by machine learning, right? So, and as you can see, it created such great results that this company saw 150% in generic search clicks. So let's turn to online video now. My favorite. I love YouTube. We just saw that in today's multi-screen world, right? It's really hard to capture people's attention, right? We are so our attention span is a lot lower than it used to be, right? So at YouTube, we continuously invest in products that captures the attentions of our viewers, right? Users come to YouTube with very, very strong intent to watch specific videos. Like I said before, I come to YouTube to watch robo vacuum reviews. So and often it's in the full screen. I watch it on my TV. But it's in favorable conditions for users to also be immersed in their watching experiences, right? So we want our audiences to be ready and to lean in. So when they decide to engage with your brand, right, there's actually no time limit when it comes to the ads that you serve, right? So we have this format called TrueView format, right? It has allowed people to skip, which I'm sure you guys have seen. I'm sure a lot of you are skipping ads, right? And it's shown that actually any ads at any length can actually capture people's attention, right? Some of the most talked about and shared ads of the last, decades are often really, really long form ads, right? I mean, think about your iconic Raya and Chinese New Year ads. They're all really long, right? So research actually shows that, skippable ads both drives brand awareness and consideration lift. Like people love the fact that they can skip your ad, but at the same time, it also drives brand metrics for the brand, right? For audiences that are not ready to lean in and watch your full ad, because they're on the go or they're onto something else. We have shorter ad formats called bumper formats, which is really geared towards mobile video users, right? So research shows that of course these 6-second ads drive significant ad recall, which means people can remember your brand, can remember your advertisements 9 out of 10 times that it tested. So actually you can see that even short ads is very highly effective. So just an example here, like Tokopedia, which is an online marketplace from Indonesia, right? So they created this very creative product-focused bumper ads to remind customers to visit its e-commerce site, right? So with a very catchy tagline that says, "Sudah cek Tokopedia belum?" Right? Have you checked Tokopedia yet? So this creative was produced very quickly, and thanks to the mobile-friendly format, the campaign, delivered such great results as you saw here. Okay, so we've just talked about how critical it is to catch consumers' attention in the early journey, right? So what you see here is the result of research that we did when we partnered with Ipsos to really further understand the consumer journey of a Malaysian, right? So during 6 weeks, we mapped the mobile behavior for hundreds of consumers across industries and geographies, right? And we got something like this. So this particular graph represents the journey of a beauty product consumer in particular. You can see that consumers today access a large number of digital touchpoints, right? And they go back and forth between different information sources. So search is really a hub for accessing most of these touchpoints, and often is also the starting point of their consumer journey. So each time a consumer seeks information across any of these touchpoints, it gives a brand opportunity to really engage with them. But it also means there are millions of data points, and that's why you need to be smart. So which is my next point, right? So for all customer interactions, right, marketers need to really be smart with data. And I'm sure you guys as students, you're also very smart with data. You have to know that at every step of your consumer and where they are in their journey, right? So understanding, for example, that someone is close to a store or even standing in it allows you to tailor a message to their needs in that very moment, because their needs can be very different, right, depending on where they are. And with this, automation and machine learning will be able to solve this, right? So the way to get to know your consumers has really, really changed in the recent years, right? Okay, there you go. But just now, as I shown you, right, that the consumer journey, since the emergence of search, websites, all these various platforms, smartphones, with the millions of signals that are constantly being sent across hundreds of touch points, you can learn so much more about your customers, right? Making your understanding of the consumer and their context and their needs a lot more richer. So marketers need to stop looking at data in a siloed way, right? So don't just look at it as data, at proprietary data, means data that you own, but also external data and intent signals separately, right? So if you put it all together, right, you can actually gain a full picture. You can gain really amazing insights into your consumer's context, But yeah, it's super complex and it's really not easy to make sense of all these data and information, right? That's why it makes so much sense to really automate this process, right? So this is where Google, has helped a lot of brands, right? We can apply the power of machine learning to take into account these millions of data points to understand consumers and help deliver relevant and useful experiences at scale and also in real time, right? So let's look at an example, right? So these are 3 different travelers. Also another travel example, because I miss traveling, so bear with me. So these travelers are all searching for the best rates on hotels, and also to plan a future holiday, hopefully after COVID. And then they see 3 different ads from a single brand, which is in this case is Expedia, right? So as you see here, right, because the algorithms understand that Joseph, for example, is a existing Expedia member, okay, by putting together all the data and using tools like customer match, he sees an ad with exclusive member discounts, which is very tailored to Joseph as an Expedia member, right? So in the second one, Shumin, right? So Shumin has visited the website before, and she searched about Barcelona, and it's all captured through Google Analytics and our audience list, right? So therefore, she sees a customized ad highlighting hotels in Barcelona. And then we have Lali, who is a first-time consumer, and she is just shown a generic Expedia ad, right? So Joseph, Shumin, and Lali, right? They're all searching for the same thing, right? They have the same searches, right? However, each of their ad experience here is completely different, because now as a marketer, Expedia understands that even though they're searching for the same thing, right, they can understand the ability, their intent, their context, and even the identity is different, right? They have different needs. So far, what have we really learned, right? We have seen how important it is to really understand your customers and really engage with them throughout the journey. But how do you really win them, right? So the first and foremost thing that consumers want is for you to help them, for you to help them make decisions faster, right? So think about yourself as a consumer right now, right? So if I think about myself as a consumer, I am pretty impatient. Like I said just now, especially now with the pandemic, I'm even more impatient, right? So my willingness to wait has drastically dropped. So consumers are shifting their thinking, right, to who does it best, to who does it best now. So if you think speed is a developer problem, it's actually not. It's also a marketing issue, right? Because there's a large price that brands pay if you don't consider speed, as you can see from the stat that I'm sharing here right now, right? 53% of consumers actually will abandon a mobile site if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. I'm sure you guys have been in that situation. I've been in that situation many times. So can you imagine the impact on your business, right? You have amazing creatives, amazing website, everything amazing, but it's slow, right? So your revenues is really at risk if you really don't deliver a fast enough experience, right? So it goes to my next point, which is my last point, which is be fast, right? So how do you do that, right? So the first step to acting on this is to really identify the problem, right? So at Google, we have some tools which you can actually check right now, to really help diagnose how you're doing in this area. So in fact, feel free to take out your mobile right now if you're on your computer, go and search for Test My Site. Test My Site is a free and easy tool that you can test any site's performance, right? It has been used by a lot of big brands, even small brands, and it's always a revelation for them, because there are so many aspects of their site that could be improved, right? So because this site actually, also recommends a very simple checklists for marketers to improve on load time, right? And then, sorry, this is my last point. So the last point is, on being accountable, right? So for today, we have talked about, how today's consumers are more impatient and are constantly searching for information. We also talk about how complex the consumer journey, that brands need to be seen, adopt a smart approach towards understanding and targeting them, but also offer the fastest and best experiences on mobiles. Wow, that's a lot, right? But in order to pull all of these together, right, to really close the loop, you also need to know what's the impact of a marketer's actions, right? So how do your digital interactions with consumers actually influence the actual purchase behavior, right? So that's where being accountable is super relevant, right? Because you need to make sure that you assign the right value to all your touch points, and not only the last point of conversions, where marketers call, the last click. So what is this, attribution, or what they call, so how can you attribute the right value to your touch points, as I spoke about earlier? So an analogy is to, think about a football game, right? So if you were to follow a last click model, right, there would only be, strikers in the team. But we all know that, in a football team, there are other players, such as the goalkeeper or the quarterbacks and the linesmen are all equally important. So similar in your consumer journey, right? It just doesn't make sense to give, the striker, or the last at all of the credit, right? So as devices multiply, more devices you use, and consumer journeys, as you saw, are getting super messy. It's really, really crucial as marketers to understand which of those clicks are the most impactful, so you can actually invest where it makes the most difference, right? So what is the solution? So at Google, we call this a data-driven attribution model, right? And I know it sounds scary, but it actually just means that it's a model that uses machine learning to determine how much credit to assign to each of the touch point, right? So it allows advertiser to serve ads according to the importance of the touch point across moments and across devices. Okay, so oops. So in closing, right? As you can see, just to summarize, I know I went through a lot of content, but this is something that if you are looking for, a marketing role or a digital marketing role, these are amazing insights to keep, right? And you can impress your future employers, right? So to summarize, there's only 4 questions that we recommend as marketers to always ask yourself, right? The first is, are you presenting and are you present, and helpful across key touch points in the consumer journey, right? Number 2, are you using data in a smart way to really understand and target, these consumers? The third, are you delivering a fast enough and seamless experience to them? And lastly, are you measuring the value of your touch points correctly? So with that, comes the end of my first part of my presentation, and I will hand it over to CY.
Well, thank you, Fardina, for the very insightful sharing. It's really a lot to take in. But I guess in a nutshell, it's be seen, be smart, be fast, and be uncountable, isn't it? Yep.
Absolutely.
So we have just ended the first segment of our webinar tonight. We're going to go for a quick halftime break right now, and when we come back, we're going to continue with Fardina talking about the COVID-19 recovery plans, just sharing her perspective and Google's perspective about what's going to happen after COVID-19. And immediately after that is the Q&A session as well as the lucky draw. So for those of you who are watching, thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned, stay connected, and I will see you after the halftime break. Thank you.
Kecil bermakna. Tiada pesanan yang terlalu kecil. Dan mereka tahu, saya sukakan teh tarik ekstra kau.
Dan sebagai pemilik perniagaan kecil, komuniti adalah segalanya. Kami ingin menjadi sebahagian daripada hidup anda dan terus berkhidmat dengan sebaik mungkin untuk membantu anda membina memori indah bersama yang tersayang. Bukan mudah untuk memulakan e-report semasa pandemik, tetapi kegembiraan yang dirasai oleh komuniti semasa menikmati steamboat enak di rumah sendiri bersama yang tersayang menjadi pembakar semangat kami.
Saya memberi sokongan terhadap SME dengan memberikan ulasan yang berguna.
Kami tidak dapat melakukannya tanpa sokongan anda. Bantulah kami untuk bangun semula supaya kami dapat terus menawarkan yang terbaik untuk anda. Kerana yang kecil itulah yang menjadikan Malaysia kuat.
Marilah kita cari,
ulas,
kongsi,
beli dan sokong SME untuk kita mantap bersama.
The most human trait is to want to know why. And in a year that tested everyone around the world, why was searched more than ever.
The spread of the coronavirus has passed a significant milestone.
And while we didn't find all the answers, we kept asking. Some questions inspired joy. Others, excitement.
Life in the bubble.
You love me?
Yes.
You love me?
Yes.
You love me?
Yes.
I don't know what an improper fraction is.
Keep all of those distractions out of the way.
We found toilet tissue, y'all.
Oh my God.
Put it on there and start it up for me.
What are y'all doing? It's still March. How many days in March?
Some questions made us cry.
We've been through our ups and been through our downs. I think the most important part is that we all stay together throughout. I love you guys.
Some made us worry about this spinning rock we call home. Why were so many lives lost?
Almost 1.5 million people have now died of COVID-19 worldwide.
Why are we still asking the same questions?
George Floyd.
George Floyd repeatedly told the officers that he could not breathe.
So why do we still have strength to continue?
I believe in your power. I believe in our power.
Chants of Black Lives Matter echoed from thousands of protesters in cities around the world.
Why are we not defeated?
We have made too much progress, and we are not going back. We are going forward.
Planes are starting to arrive in Beirut full of international aid.
Firefighters from around the world arriving in California. There are over 100 coronavirus vaccines in development worldwide.
This is one of those times when people look out for one another and have each other's backs.
We kept going for those who showed us the way.
Think about how you would like the world to be for your daughters and granddaughters.
We also march to show men physically that we are here and we are going to be counted.
Remember, the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. Press on with pride and press on with purpose.
Why is it that this year showed us its worst, and we still found ways to triumph?
The Osaka U.S. Open Championship. Can't let Corona stop you. Can't let quarantine stop you.
So until we get to every answer,
We gon' get it together somehow.
we're still searching.
Hello, and welcome back. So we've come to the second segment of our webinar tonight. So we're going to start with Miss Fardina sharing with us COVID-19 recovery strategies and things like that. And immediately after that, it's the Q&A as well as the lucky draw session. So let's talk about COVID-19 recovery, right? A lot of businesses that I know, a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs that I know are actually very eagerly waiting for COVID to pass. I think in this COVID season, there are two types of business owners and marketers. There are those that that went to be a bit more conservative in their spending, where they say, okay, I'm going to keep my resources and I'm going to wait for COVID to be over, and then I'm going to restart, right? And there is also another type of marketers or business owners that says, okay, this is the time to be really, really aggressive. And this is the time that I should be spending a lot of money on marketing. So people may have different approaches when it comes to COVID timing, when it comes to COVID season, right? But what a lot of people have in common is a lot of them, they are really just waiting until COVID is over. So it's really, really wonderful to have Fardina here with us tonight to talk about COVID recovery. What is Google's view? And, Fardina, what do you think from your experience as well?
Yes, you are happy to share some of Google's efforts in trying to help Malaysians and be helpful to Malaysians during this time. So yeah, I'm happy to walk you through some of the efforts that we've done this year, and we'll continue to do so as long as the pandemic is going on. Now Google is there to help.
Okay, if we could bring up Fardina's slide. Over to you, Fardina.
Thank you, CY. So everyone, for this second part of the presentation, I promise the content will be far lighter. So I'm just going to quickly talk to you guys, through what Google's efforts are, in post-pandemic recovery, as I mentioned, and what we're doing to help Malaysians through this time. But before that, I want to make it, to break up some of the heavy content that we saw earlier just now. I'm going to start with a little quiz about Google, right? So you guys can, of course, put it in your comments. So does anyone know what was Google's original name? So here are some options here, right? So Digital Library Project, Google, Backrub, and PageRank. Can anyone guess what Google's original name is? CY, what do you think?
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know. Google is weird. Backrub maybe.
Yeah, I saw a few people mention backrub. Backrub is right. So backrub was a research project that our co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin started as PhD students at their time at Stanford University. So wow, well done. Well done for those of you who said for those of you who said backrub. Okay, cool. So next question: when was Google first used as a verb?
Well, this is a difficult one.
Come on, CY. I'm putting you on the spot.
I'd say, I'll go for 1998.
Wow, you're killing it. So it is 1998. So, our co-founder Larry in 1998, right, he wrote for the very first time in an email saying that have fun and keep Googling. And that kind of stick. And in 2002, actually, it was the first externalization of the word Google as a verb. It was actually in this show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. CY, do you know that? I'm sure
I have no idea.
No idea. The kids here so probably will not know. It's probably way before your time, but yeah, it was a very cool show during its day. Okay, my last question here. When Gmail launched in 2004, right? People thought it was a joke. Is this true or false?
I don't think I don't think people would think it's a joke, right? Because that's when you have Yahoo Mail and things like that, right? I think it's false. I don't know.
It's false. Okay, let's see why this on you. Minus point.
Okay.
It's actually true. It's true because.
But why would people think that it's a joke?
Because when we launched in 2004, it was launched on April Fool's Day, so people thought it was a joke. But actually, it was a real thing, and it proves to be one of my favorite Google products because I love Gmail and especially love all the new, machine learning, features that is on Gmail right now. I hope you guys have been using it as well. So yeah, okay, that ends my quiz session. So no more, you're off the hook, CY.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. I just want to close this entire presentation, with some, again, of Google's initiatives during this pandemic. So, when it comes to COVID response efforts, right, at Google, there's really three pillars that really guide us, right? The first is that, we have the responsibility to really surface reliable information from authoritative sources, right? Whether when people are searching on search or even YouTube. And the second pillar is also we collaborate very closely with our education sector to ensure that schools in Malaysia are pivoting well to online learning. And the third is to ensure businesses, business continuity and recovery among local businesses as well as individuals. So here are some examples of these efforts that you might have seen. So, when COVID hit, right, in March last year, right, when we all went under lockdown, right, we launched what we call the COVID-19 SOS alert, right? So when you go and search for COVID, it surfaces basically and connects users with really authoritative information from the Ministry of Health and also WHO, which I'm sure, hopefully people have been using it. We also launched, the knowledge panel for users. So for people who are searching for specific things like symptoms, preventions, treatments, and latest statistics, this information will show up as well, right? On Waze and Google Maps, we help, our Malaysian government to really reinforce the message, right, to avoid unnecessary travel during the MCO. And we did this by showing, warning messages to users, as well as, showing location pins for the closest medical testing and quarantine centers as well. And for YouTube, we ensure to also surface informational links and videos by reputable media, as well as health authorities, as well as launch, the YouTube campaign called the Stay Home With Me campaign, where we worked with several, top Malaysian local creators to really urge, Malaysians to stay at home during this time. And now I know we're in a different stage of COVID, right? And you've probably seen this video during the break or at the beginning, where right now vaccination efforts are really ramping up by our Ministry of Health and also MOSTI. We're finding more ways at Google to help, right? So we recognize, especially with the vaccines, it's a really complex problem to solve. And we're committed in doing our part here at Google to help Malaysians find accurate and timely information on vaccines. So if you search for vaccine on COVID-19 on search now, we've expanded our information panels on search. And we also launched, the Get the Facts initiative, as you can see here, to really promote, awareness as well as, promote people to rely on actual facts and from authoritative sources, right? The next thing we did is, on the education part, is we help, enable productivity for teachers, students, and as well as remote users through trainings and webinars, and also taught them, how to conduct online classes through products like Google Classroom and G Suite, which was made available to all Malaysian government teachers. We also launched, resource hubs for both teachers and schools, as you can see in this segment here. And this was my favorite. About 2 months ago, through a Google Doodle, we celebrated the 142nd birthday of Dr. Wu Lian Teh, a Malaysian doctor from Penang, who invented a surgical mask that is widely considered as like the precursor to the N95 mask that we all wear today to protect us from COVID. So it's actually a Malaysian. And this Google Doodle was not only just in Malaysia, it was a global Google Doodle. So it was a very proud Malaysian moment where, wow, like a Malaysian has contributed to this amazing invention that basically is saving so many lives today, right? When it comes to businesses, right, we have ran, live streams and virtual trainings for SMEs through our Mahir Digital Bersama Google program. We also have given ads credits grants for eligible SMEs, as is SMEs who are really facing the brunt of the pandemic the most, right? And third, we also launched a Google Primer, an education mobile app in a Malay language, in which there are plenty of upskilling modules, which you guys are of course free to download as well, that you can partake and really you can learn modules that teaches you how to start a business to even fundamentals in digital marketing. And finally, and most importantly, I think most relevant to you guys here, we launched Grow with Google with the aim to help everyone who's those who make up the workforce of today, but also students like you who will drive the workforce of tomorrow, right? And through this, we hope to give you access to some of the best of Google's trainings and tools to really grow your skills, your career, as well as your businesses. So I will leave you with my final slide with that, right? With a link, which is just typing grow.google into your phone, onto your Google search or Google Chrome, and you'll find amazing resources there. So yeah, please visit our site and take advantage of the resources. And thank you so much for listening. I'll hand it over to you, CY.
Thank you, Fardina, for sharing. You almost caught me off guard there with the questions. But here's the chance for our viewers to put Fardina to the test and ask her as many questions as you like. So for those of you who are watching, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching with us from 8 o'clock until now. So if you have any questions, this is the time for you to ask. So we will give our viewers a bit of time for them to ask their question, and we will jump right into the lucky draw session. So today's lucky draw is sponsored by Google. Thank you, Fardina. Thank you, Google, for the very generous sponsor. And yeah, let's see who our first lucky winner is. By the way, we are giving out 5 prizes tonight. So yeah, let's spin the wheel and see who our first winner is. Okay, it's coming up now. And the first winner is Noor Aisha binti Abdul Kadir. Okay, Noor Aisha, if you're watching this, you have 1 minute to identify yourself by commenting in the comments box. I am the winner. I am the winner. So we could identify you, yeah, and pass the prize to you. So you have 1 minute. 1 minute starts now. Let's go. And let's see if we have any questions. Admin, if you could just bring out our first question. Okay, here's a question from Win Tan. Will Google stop using cookies? If yes, what will be backup plan for tracking? Fardina.
Thanks, Lintan, for your very thoughtful question, right? So as our our industry, our marketing industry, advertising industry has really strive to deliver relevant ads to consumers across the web, right? It has created like a ton, like a proliferation of like individual user data, right? Across thousands of companies. Typically gathered what we call a third-party cookies, right? Is what you meant in your question. So this has really led to an erosion of trust, right? So if digital advertising really doesn't evolve to address the growing concerns people have about their privacy and how their personal identity is being used, we risk the future of the free and open web, which Google, is the biggest fear for Google, right? We believe in a free and open web. So that's why last year, actually, Chrome announced its intent to remove support for third-party cookies, and why we've been working with the broader industry on the privacy sandbox to build innovations and protect the anonymity of our users, right, while still delivering results for advertisers and publishers, right? So once the third-party cookies are phased out, right, we will not be building alternative identifiers to track individuals as they browse across the web. So nor will we actually also use them in our products, right? So instead, our web products will be powered by what they call privacy preserving APIs, which will prevent individual tracking while still delivering high impact, high results for advertisers and publishers. I know this sounds a bit complex. For more, if you'd like to I have more information about this, you can head over to our blog, which is blog.google, or our safety center at safety.google for more information. So thank you so much for your question.
Thank you, Fardina. And we see that Aisha has identified herself. So congratulations, Aisha, for being our first winner tonight. Let's look at our next winner. Let's bring up the wheel and let's see. Who's our next winner? Oi, Linky, congratulations. Same like Aisha, you have 1 minute to identify yourself, and your 1 minute starts now. So let's see what's the next question. The next question comes from Galip. Can you clarify more with the touch points that you have mentioned?
Sure,
Fardina.
No problem, Galip. Yeah, so touch points in marketing is basically what we call the different points of your consumer journey, right? So that happens before you make a purchase, right? So a touch point can actually be when you search for, let's say if you are going to buy a electric kettle, right? And you want to know, let's say what is out there. So you go on Google and you search, right? That is one touch point. When you go on YouTube and you do another search, you watch a video, that's another touch point, right? If you go to Sinking, for example, and you talk to some person there, that is still a touch point, but it's an offline touch point, right? So it's basically any interactions or any points of your consumer journey that we call, as marketers, we call touch points. So I hope that clears your, that clarifies things.
Yeah, that's a very concise answer, Fardina. Okay, Oi Linky has identified himself. So congratulations, Oi. Let's look at, let's see who our next winner is. We have 3 more prizes to go. Okay, our next winner is Nareen Kwan. Okay, Nareen, you have 1 minute to identify yourself, and your 1 minute starts now. And let's look at our next question. It's a question from Chia CK. Do you think that e-commerce will substitute the traditional commerce in the future? Good question. Fardina.
Hi, Cha. Thank you for your question. I am no here. We at Google we try not to predict things. We cannot predict things, right? But I think that I don't think e-commerce will actually be 100% substitute for traditional commerce. I don't think digital ever is in any, whether it's commerce or anything, right? Like for example, even cinemas, right? Will everyone just continue watching YouTube and Netflix and stop going to cinemas? I don't think so. I think there's always a value in we are physical human beings, right? It's just more about how our interactions offline will change post-pandemic, but it's yet to be seen. But I still feel there is tremendous value in offline commerce. I still think it's very important, but online e-commerce, as we saw, has been of growing importance. And I know a lot of brands before this, they're like, I probably can fare off better offline. But I think the pandemic has really shown us that people's behaviors are changing, and these changes are here to stay. But I don't think it's going to be fully, erasing or taking over or substituting for traditional offline commerce.
Yeah, I think instead of thinking about is whether or not digital is going to take over conventional marketing or conventional businesses, a better way of thinking about it would be how digital marketing is going to complement conventional businesses, isn't it?
Absolutely. As you can see, I think an example that I shared before, right, in a pre-pandemic world, right, when we are in offline stores, let's say, I don't know why Sengheng is in my head. Let's say you're in a store for Sengheng, you're actually still also searching, right? I don't think it's just offline. I don't think it's just online, right? It's basically how, as you rightfully say, these two connect with each other, right? So absolutely on point, ZY.
Thank you. So Nareen has identified herself. Congratulations, you are our third winner of the night. And let's see who our fourth winner is. And for those of you who are asking questions in the comments box, of course, we cannot get to all of your questions tonight. But I think Fardina's colleague is also here to answer some questions in the comments box, right? Okay, our next winner is Vignesh Wari. So please identify yourself in the comments box by commenting, I am the winner. And we are going to jump into our fourth question of the night. So let's see. Okay, it's a question from Roslan Othman. And he say, is it necessary for us to engage social media influencers to promote our product, especially during this pandemic, to boost the sales? Fardina, what do you think?
It's not necessary, right? I think, like, for example, if you use something like search, you don't really need to engage a social media influencer, right? But I at Google, we're not a social media company, so I would refrain from giving you advice on social media. But I think there are various ways of driving sales online, right? And that's not necessarily needing there are many ways, and it really depends on the objective of your marketing campaign, right? Are you trying to build a brand? Are you trying to build human engagement, right? I mean, even in engagement, there are many ways to do that, right? Not necessarily through a social media influencer. So I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, so it's not a one size fits all thing, right?
Absolutely. It really depends on your objectives, depends on your audience.
Exactly. Okay, I think our previous winner was who was it already? Vignesh, right? Vignesh did not identify himself or herself, so we will save that lucky draw for tomorrow. We're going to do another draw tomorrow. Let's move on to the fifth draw tonight. So let's see who's our winner for our fifth draw. Okay, our next winner is Yong Zeng Long. Yong, please identify yourself. You have 1 minute. And we're going to move on with our Q&A, our last question for the night, I suppose. It's a question from Jiawei. How can we join Google as a company? Looking for employment opportunity here. Fardina, any tips?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're always looking for people who are creative, critical thinkers, as well as who are well equipped with after all we are a technology company, right? So I would say make sure that you are well versed with digital marketing. There are a lot of interesting opportunities, whether you're in tech or whether you're marketing at Google. So if you know your stuff and if you delve into the resources that I share with you and make sure that you're familiar with all the different products and marketing channels and the consumer behaviors of today's consumer, you'll position yourself as a very strong candidate. So definitely, continue to grow yourselves and use the resources that I've shared, which is grow.google. And visit our career website as well to see for interesting opportunities in both Malaysia as well as in Singapore.
Thank you, Fardina. And Zenlong has identified himself. Congratulations, Zenlong. You are our fifth winner tonight. So that concludes our lucky draw session and the Q&A session for the night. I see there's a lot of different questions coming in from a lot of different people. Fardina, if they want to find out more information, right, looking at the questions that has just come in, is there a site or a blog that you could share for people to find more information on?
Yeah, so in terms of resources for upskilling, which I shared earlier, go to grow.google. But if there's anything else on, let's say, our ads products or everything, just use search and you'll find your answers there.
How convenient. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So we have come to almost the end of our webinar tonight. Now, before I jump back to Fardina for her, to do a round of conclusion and some closing remarks, right? I just want to take a quick opportunity here to also promote our next upcoming webinar that is going to come up next week. And next week, we are going to speak to Miss Lau Yin Mei, the Group Chief Marketing and Customer Experience Officer from Malaysia Airlines. It's a brand that I grew up with. So if you're interested to hear from Malaysia Airlines, please stay tuned on all of Segi Group of Colleges social media account. Make sure you register yourself so that you don't miss the talk. So again, next week, we are speaking to Malaysia Airlines, Miss Lau Yin Mei. And, if you're interested, do stay tuned. Now, jump back to Miss Fardina. I think there are generally two groups of people who are watching us right now. They are marketing students. A lot of them are marketing students, and a lot of them are our business partners. What would be your final piece of advice? Let's break it into two segments, right? Your advice for business owners and marketers. Your advice. Your final piece of advice before we end tonight.
My final piece of advice to marketers and business owners is to, constantly be reactive and adapt. I know it's hard, but we're living in an online age right now where a lot of information, a lot of helpful information and resources are available. And as I mentioned just now, we have, even at Google, we provide a lot of help, whether it's through Mahir Digital Bersama Google program, which is for particularly to help SME owners, or even Grow with Google, which helps individuals from students to regular folks who just want to learn and upskill themselves. So just being adept and adaptable and reactive to what's happening.
Continue searching, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and Your final piece of advice to marketing students.
To marketing students, marketing changes very, very fast, especially in the digital age. And I know I'm going to sound like a naggy auntie. I hope I'm not that old, but you need to keep abreast with the new innovations, the new trends, because they change all the time. And the way to do that is really, I think we live in an age where you can do any sort of marketing tests or promotions yourself with your own social media. You can set up, business is so easy right now. So yeah, continue to experiment and continue to upskill yourself and make sure that you know all the new innovations and trends. Yeah. And again, turn to search if you want to find out more information and get more upskilling resources.
Thank you, Fardina. Thank you. So to all of our viewers, thank you for tuning in tonight. And if you are watching live right now, do type a thank you message in the comments box to show your appreciation to Google Malaysia and Fardina as well. And if you want to hear more from Google, do let us know in the comments box as well, because then I can take this and show Fardina, you gotta come back again. So do type that. If you want to see more of Google, if you want to hear more from Miss Fardina, do comment in the comments box. If not, do join us in thanking Miss Fardina and Google Malaysia as well. And on behalf of Segi University and colleges, I would like to thank you once again for tuning in tonight and for another episode of A Talk with the Industry series. So this is CY and Miss Fardina signing out. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, guys.